Welcome back, everyone, to Economic Preppers. I'm your host, as always, Jeff, and I'm here with my buddy Patrick. Dylan's on assignment, but it's just gonna be the two of us. Patrick, how you doing today?
Man, I'm good. It's been like a really wild day in Oregon over here. I'm really excited, but finally we've had some like dry weather for a while. So I'm back wearing my slides and my socks, and I'm just happy over here.
Yeah, it seems like it's not stopped raining since Christmas, and whereas we're filming, it's a month since Christmas. If you're scoring at home, but it's time does fly. But we're here ready to talk about current events. Patrick, your first topic you threw in here was classifieds and stocks. What did you want to talk about on that one?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You said classified stocks in the agenda in our show agenda. So I'm just trying to figure out what
Not
that
me.
means. That wasn't you? All right. Well, there's our first edit, folks. That's how we run here. So we're going to talk about the job market. So I don't know if you've been following along, but there's a lot of jobs that seem to be going away, thousands a week, possibly a day. I've heard Amazon, Google. Patrick, have you heard about some of other layoffs that are going on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've had them all around us too, especially if you think about like right north of us in Salem is a huge Amazon warehouse. So just a lot of layoffs happening. This is not anything that is unexpected, right? This is the exact goal of the Fed. They wanted to make things harder so that it costs companies more and companies can't afford it. So they lay off jobs, all of this so that you guys can no longer afford anything and stop buying stuff. That's exactly the goal.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out for the next couple of months because as companies are especially the public ones, they're tightening their belts, they're laying off people to try and so that they can survive and make their earnings numbers, which is getting harder and harder to do because people are tightening their own belts and not spending.
Yeah.
So this could very well lead to deflation and prices going down to encourage people to come out and buy things because like everyone's they're grabbing onto that last dollar and not willing to spend it anymore, and it's getting tough. People are trying to make ends meet, and it's very difficult. So this could lead to the deflation or stagflation, but I'm sure other outside forces and other stories are going to pop up in the next 6 months that's going to radically change things.
Yeah, I mean, it's no doubt the credit card spending here is off the charts. We have never seen more credit card balances than right now. People can't afford what their wages are bringing in, and so they're overspending on their credit cards. It's just about a matter of time before we see one of the biggest issues with foreclosures and bankruptcies that we've ever seen in the history of the United States.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk last week. I talked to a couple stories on my channel, but we talked about it briefly last time about the debt ceiling. So let me share a little bit about that.
Yeah,
So
remember last time we said, "Hey, this is crazy. How can they just say, wait, and we're running out of credit card limit. Let's just keep asking for a bigger limit. That's the solution." They're like,
yeah, it's
"Patrick, that's absolutely insane. Why would we just ask for a higher limit? Let's
well,
just have no limit."
yeah, that's what they're asking for is no limit now. Like, can you imagine calling up like you maxed out your credit cards and you call up your credit card company and say, "Hey, can you just give me more credit so I could spend more?" Obviously, they're going to say no, but that's not what the U.S. government is trying to do. And then I don't know if you saw this, Patrick, but the other wacky idea that came up is the $1 trillion coin. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, guys, so this could actually work, right? Like, I could actually see this working. This isn't the craziest thing they've come up with, but the idea that I think this could actually work shows us how ludicrous the society is right now. That, like, listen, this is a totally ridiculous solution, but not anymore. Like, this is less ridiculous than no debt ceiling, right?
Yeah, the $1 trillion coin. They're just going to make it out of probably unobtainium, but like platinum or something, and make a $1 trillion coin. The idea is they'll mint this coin because the government can mint coins, and they'll take that coin and they'll deposit it in the Treasury or the Fed, and then that'll help to pay off debts or raise the ceiling or whatever. Because now there's a $1 trillion coin in circulation or not. It's a ludicrous idea. It makes no sense because the only reason that it would be a $1 trillion coin is because the government has said that it's worth $1 trillion,
No, but
but it's
how
really not.
how different is this than any of the other debt ceiling increases that they've done? I mean, they're printing money anyways. Like, this isn't a whole lot different than what they're doing anyways.
Yeah,
So this
well,
isn't too far off from what they're doing, and I could see this coming to pass a lot quicker than I could see the fact of being like, Yeah, you tell your kids, hey, sorry, we don't have money. They'd be like, well, why don't you just call the bank and tell them not to put a limit? Like, this is
This
something
goes
that your child would try to bring to you and be like, sorry, honey, like it doesn't work that way. You can't just do that.
this goes in the category of, like, in crypto world, this would be like one of the best worst shitcoin strategies I've ever heard. But you could make a real good argument that the worst tokenomic project that's out there is the US dollar, because they just print more of it and there's no ceiling to them. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of the stuff that they're attempting, but the debt ceiling with the $1 trillion coin, it's all leading, like they're just trying to delay as long as they can, probably for the next 3 to 6 months, until they get that CBDC that comes out this summer, and they'll be probably presented as a savior for inflation, the economy, whatever. It's like, hey guys, we know the dollar is really messed up. We probably have overextended its life. I won't tell you that part, but they say, hey, there's this much better currency that's out there. It's going to be a CBDC. It's going to be the central bank digital currency. We'll airdrop it to you into the Fed Now app. Don't worry about it. We can start using that instead. It makes no sense, but
Well, it's coming, but the reality is it's just really, really immature and irresponsible of us. Like, I think about my kids. I think about like my little son Grayson. He's going to be 2 in April, and I don't understand how to explain to him that, like, hey, as soon as you're born, you have $100,000 worth of debt, and I don't even understand how to like tell him this is the shit I'm leaving you with. I can't be that dad, right? So how can we possibly be doing this to our kids? What do we think we're doing? We're leaving them with just so much baggage and kicking the can down the road. They're going to be the ones dealing with it. Shame on us.
yeah, it's tough out there. I mean, we've got all these different things that are going on in the world as well. All this, the World Economic Forum, which was pretty much a disaster. It didn't go well for them at all. Like, half of them didn't attend. They made various things about climate change and whatnot, but for the most part, people were just saying this is kind of bogus. We're not putting any credence into this any longer. Who are you guys? So no one elected you in the first place. Why are you allegedly in charge? And it's not going to work. But what is interesting is that the BRICS nations keep popping up. This BRICS conversation will not go away. All these other countries are getting involved, and we know. So to start off, if you're not familiar with it, BRICS it's what was an anagram? That's not right. It's an acronym. Thank you. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Saudi Arabia. But it soon could be. I'm sorry, South Africa. Soon to be Saudi Arabia. I think we'll replace the S. But they have an annual meeting, and last one was last June, and I think they're probably going to have it somewhere. They haven't announced where, but they're probably going to have one in June. But this story over in Zero Hedge, which is a great site to keep up on all those different stories, talked about the BRICS going forward, and they are looking this summer. Well, sometime in 2023, Russian Foreign Minister, I'm Lavrov. Good luck with that's the best pronunciation I can do. But he's saying sometime in this year, they might also see the launch of a new BRICS currency tied to gold at the summit to be held in South Africa at a later date. So about the time that the U.S. and the European nations are going to launch their CBDCs that are just going to airdrop to everyone in the Western world, the BRICS nations are going to be announcing their new currency that's going to be BRICS and gold backed. So, Patrick, what's your take on all that?
Well, I'm going to be correct here and say it's now called BRICS Plus. BRICS Plus. It's everything that you mentioned: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and everyone else that's starting to jump on board with their new method of transacting without the United States or federal government system, without the dollar. They don't care about it. They have been moving away from it for like over a year and a half now. We've been seeing this come out. We have been talking about the de-dollarization globally happening all around the world. In Egypt, where my home country is, we've been talking about what's happening there for a long time. So to me, you really think that that's not coming? I don't understand how no one is paying attention to this. And furthermore, I would suggest, could you imagine, Jeff, remember that one time we had a discussion and it was like, what would happen if they just decided, hey, now the gold value is worth X number of rubles? And could you imagine if that equated to something like $50,000 US dollars? Gold goes up on a run. Everyone moves over, starts selling their gold to Russia. The dollars come back home, making it even worse. It's like all they have to do is decide to peg it to a different gold standard based on the valuation of gold that they have in deposits. And then who knows what would happen here. Now, I guess I would want to say, like, from Nobody Special Finance's perspective, it would be like, well, maybe they would print, we don't know how much gold there is, how much is not undiscovered here in the United States. It just hasn't been unrevealed. So, right, I don't know what's going to happen, but with BRICS playing this game against the dollar, and then them saying, hey, we don't even care if we print more dollars. We'll print $1 trillion coins, and we're going to have no debt ceiling. It's like they don't care about the value of the dollar. So the dollar has been dead for a while, but now the evidence just shows they're not even trying to save it anymore.
Yeah, I think I'll dovetail that into our final segment, because I'll talk about the history of the dollar, how many times it's died, what really happened in 1933, and like the revaluation. I think that all those, I'm just taking notes now because I was going to talk about something else, but I think that's really pertinent and valuable right now. So I'll talk about that. But we talk a lot about the world and all the different things that are going on, but we're also a prepper show. So rather than getting into like the normal crypto and Bitcoin and altcoin news, which we will do, I wanted to introduce our very first guest on the program. So we're going to go and we're going to introduce someone that we've known for a little while. We met him at one of the recent crypto events last year. Might have been the year before. I don't know. It's hard to remember.
2020.
I think it was might have been 21, but
no, it was before my son was born. It was before Grayson was born. It was January. So maybe you're right, 2021.
January 21. Yeah. So 2 years ago, we met him. You met him before I did, but let's let our audience meet him and introduce Farmer John. So Farmer John, welcome to the program. How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're just trying to prepare for whatever's possible, not be scared, and just preparation leads to not lack of fear. So how are things going out where you're at? What state? Remind our audience, what state are you in, and tell us a little bit about your background.
I farm in northern Illinois, up by Rockford, Illinois. We're a regenerative agriculture farm. That means we went from conventional tillage to no-till, and then we pretty much added cover crops. And so regenerative agriculture really makes the soil better every year we farm the farm, and conventional agriculture is destroying the soil. So that's the big difference. We try to direct market.
Okay, go ahead.
We try to direct market a few things. So we grow a heritage wheat, and we grind it into flour, and we sell the flour, and then we grow a lot of different heritage and specialty grains, and we sell that to distilleries that make whiskey then.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to tell you too. So Farmer John and I had a little discussion, and I think it's really important that you guys know that I've been working out. And as I've been working out, I talked to Farmer John. Yeah, I talked to Farmer John, and he said, yeah, this is where I go and get my overalls from. So I went down to Coastal Farms and tried some on, and I'm going to tell you, they look much cooler without a shirt on. And I have really started liking my overalls. My wife does not like them yet. So I want you to know, like, I'm feeling myself in them. I can't wait for summertime. You watch me squat in that stuff, Jeff, I'm going to have fun but the idea is, like, I love Farmer John in a way, like, it's so different because we get to have this fun with our community together. But when I met him, I had no idea what I was trying to learn. Caitlin, my wife, was telling me all of these things about our food supply that I found quite unbelievable, actually. So it took me some time before I figured out, like, wait a sec, not only is this what's real with our financial system, here's what's going on with our food supply, here's what's happening. And as I started to learn, what Farmer John had talked to me about a year ago suddenly became relevant. And one of the reasons why I loved our interaction specifically is he allowed me to pay in divvy, right, with cryptocurrency, which is totally within our freedom mindset. You accept silver, accepts gold. And one of my favorite things is just knowing that our food that we get, talking about prepping, I guess I would love to kind of like shift into that gear of, let's say we have our prepper community here, and that's really our audience. What advice would you have for them for storing flour? So let's just say, for example, I have a family. I know I want to feed a family of 5. I want to pack enough flour and make sure that it's ready for my family to use if an emergency happens. I get on your website, and then what do I do when I get it?
Well, there's 2 things to consider. One is you could probably store flour for, I don't know, a year or two with no problems. But if you really want to store flour long term, you need to actually get just the seed, the wheat seed. And they call those wheat berries. And so wheat berries they keep for 10, 15 years. So anybody that's into prepping, they buy wheat berries and they have their own flour grinder at home. But then other people that just want to prepare for a year or two, I mean, they'd rather just buy the flour already ground, ready to go.
Jeff, did you know that?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. I'm like, wait a sec. We need to
wheat
start
berries.
researching
I
some
would have
wheat
thought that
flour
was
grinder.
cereal. Wheat berry, I thought would like that's like next to cornflakes, wheat berries. I don't know, but
Yeah.
so when you're saying a year or two for the flour to last, that's after it's been milled. Like it doesn't matter. It's like after a year or two. Like what happens after a couple of years? What is it? Does it go bad? What happens?
I personally, I think it's probably going to be fine even longer than a couple of years because what we're doing now is we're putting them in vacuum packed packages. So we put it, we use that vacuum machine and suck all the air out of it and put that little package of stuff in there to
Deoxygenator.
Yeah, that damn little packet we throw away all the time. Well, that's supposed to help. So we put that sucker in there, and it's supposed to be pretty good for quite a while. We've had one sitting around for a couple of years, and it still looks okay. So I'm kind of testing it, but to be safe, I'm saying a couple of years. But man, I bet you that flour might be good for 4 or 5 years. So, you just don't know.
And where would we get these wheat berries?
We sell the wheat berries too, so you can buy them in the. We're putting those into the vacuum packs now too. So those things a lot of people buy a 5-gallon bucket full of them, and then they'll grind their own. But the shipping is so expensive, and most people don't need a 5-gallon bucket full of them. They just want to have something longer term. So what a lot of people do is they'll buy, a 6-pack of flour. So there's 5-pound packs. You get 6 of them in a box, and that's what the FedEx shipping rate is the cheapest on. And then they'll buy another 6 of just the wheat berries. So then they've got something that lasts 2-3 years, and then they got something that lasts 10, 15 years if they needed to.
So the next question would be, how easy is it to mill it? I mean, is this something that takes a lot of time, or would you recommend like there just be a few of them in your community? They're just really easy to have around. Do they take up much space?
Yeah, there's some good mills, but you're looking at $1,200-$1,400 for a mill. If you got a KitchenAid stand mixer, they make a little deal that you stick on the end of that, a mill, and I think that's cheaper. That's probably like $200-$300. But it takes a bit to learn how to really grind it and get the consistency you want. Most people, it takes a lot of work getting that figured out.
And if I could ask you, like Caitlin would say, she told me if I can ask him a question, she would ask you, what's one common misconception that people don't know, or maybe even just like a few of them? Some of our viewers may have not taken the time to look into what's going on in our food supply and like how healthy it is. So on your list of like, I like to call them buckets, right? We have these 3 buckets. This is like, we know for sure the sky is blue because I look up and I see it and we all agree. Then there's like, Patrick, I'm telling you, the sky is like blue, but also maybe purple. And Jeff explained it to me. Okay, I could see why. And then there's like, hey, there's no such thing as sky. Okay, so what bucket does this fall into? I want the ones that are for sure. Like we have no clue that our food is X when it goes through processing. Or what are those things that you don't think that the most Americans know is happening to our food supply and how they're poisoning us?
Well, I'll stick with flour. So if you go to the store and you buy some flour, they call it bromated, and it's white flour. So what they do is they sift all the natural enzymes out of it. Then they bromate it, which is a chemical process of killing anything living in it off. So that way it can sit on the shelf for 4, 5, 6 years and doesn't have to, and it'll never go bad. But the problem is there's no nutrition to it. It's just nothing. So, a lot of the breads and all the pastas that you get made out of a store-bought flour, any of the commercial flours, they've got no nutrition to them. Plus, they're made with a modern wheat variety. If you go overseas, people that have bread when they're overseas, they rave about how great the bread is, and over in Europe. But they banned a lot of the GMOs in Europe, and they only use the older wheat varieties over there. And so that's what we do is we use older heritage wheat varieties, and the older wheat varieties have a gluten strand that breaks down easier. They bred the wheat to be so it would stand really good in a windstorm and it would grow a lot, but they lost the food quality to it. So now we've got this Frankenfood, this, something that looks like flour, but years ago,
Frankenfood.
yeah, yeah. So, but years ago, grandma used to grind the flour in the kitchen, before they made the bread. I mean, it was a whole art form of cooking. So I think we've lost so much of the art of cooking, and that's what's caused the disconnect of what real food is, because it's hard to even figure out, because they don't want you to know this stuff. They want you to buy the crap and not be healthy. Then they can sell you the drugs to fix you. So,
Well,
I don't know if that was
no, that's a great answer, and I want to share with the audience here. This is Farmer John's website, farmerjohn.io, and this is about his. He uses your brand of the Bear Greens. So this is the flour. So just the Bear Essentials. So aside from flour, I mean, what are the other things that people don't know about in the grocery store that they should know or look for when they're in the average grocery store, or should they be seeking out, buying direct or going to farmer or co-ops or farmers markets? What would you recommend for the average consumer at this point?
For the average consumer, I'd recommend learning how to frickin' cook, because if you buy boxes of crap with preservatives in it, it's going to kill you, and it kills you slowly. But if you learn how to cook and you learn what natural ingredients are, so think about a grocery store. Anything around the outside of the grocery store, the produce section, the whole meats, anything that's natural in its form is a lot better than something that's processed. So, but even like lunch meat, lunch meat is all processed and filled with crap, and versus you could go to the ham section and buy a nice ham and cook it in the oven and slice it up in little pieces of meat like lunch meat, and you got a really healthy meat instead of some processed garbage.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'd like to remind our audience and our viewers, especially for those of you who are grandmas, like my mother-in-law, Barb, I want to speak to you directly and say that as a grandma, for my children, I think you should be making homemade bread for us. And I would really appreciate it if you could order some flour and make us some homemade bread. Thanks, Mama. Love you. Because the reality is, you're right. We've got to learn how to do this stuff. We bought a bread machine and we're trying to learn it too. But for me, like I said, buying it with Divvy for me was just such a no-brainer. It was so easy to just, hey, can we do this real quick? And that transaction was just so smooth. So for those of you guys who are into crypto, Bitcoin, Litecoin, XRP, Divvy, just chat with Farmer John. He knows how to, transact with that. And the other thing I want to bring up is you've been actually advocating for not just utilizing, our farmers, but also utilizing the community to transfer wealth and to interact and barter with each other in different ways. One of the stories that you brought up to me is some things that you do with silver coins that you have in your pocket. Can you share with our audience why you do that and what you do?
Well, I just, if I'm at the bar, I was at the bar the other day and I was eating hamburger, and so I carry this little sack of coins with me. So I started an online coin shop, so I get all my coins. Well, I really think that real money, silver is real money, and I really think Bitcoin and Litecoin, they're going to be real money. I mean, I think there's a little time yet, but to me, the farmers and the people I deal with, they understand the silver. They actually forgot about it. So, I'll carry this sack of coins with, and I'll just talk about silver. And actually, I've been selling them now, so I just dump my coins out on the counter, and I tell them, hey, you can buy a U.S. Eagle for $40, and you can buy just a round for $28. So if you just want silver, I carry these little silver rounds with an eagle on it, and then I carry the silver eagle ones, the U.S. coins, and then I tell them the difference between a minted coin and just a regular silver coin, and then I can talk to them about constitutional money if they actually want to talk about it. But
so as you guys could see here, Farmer John, we invited him on because he gets passionate about this. You could feel it. He loves talking about his flour. He loves talking about farming, and he loves talking about his constitutional ability to have freedom to transact, right? And he looks for the things that he values, just like our prepper community does. So yeah, for sure. I just love exactly what you're saying. Totally resonates with me.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
message too, Farmer John, and we really appreciate you coming on. We're going to see Farmer John in Wisconsin when Patrick and I are out there, and Dylan will be zooming in. But Farmer John's going to be joining us, I heard today. So we're going to be out there in just about 2 weeks on February 11th in the Wisconsin area. It's about little east of Madison, about less than 2 hours from Chicago, but it's definitely driving range for anyone in the Midwest. It's tickets are only $179, and you have a $50 off coupon that's ticking underneath on the ticker there. I think it's EP for economic preppers, WI for Wisconsin, and 50 for $50. So just type that in as the code. You get $50 off. You get food while you're there. You get there's going to be guests. There's at least one speaker, maybe two that will be guest speaking. You're going to have Patrick and myself. You're going to have Dylan there. We're going to have a workshop on holding crypto and self custody. It's going to be a lot. You're going to meet a lot of people that are in your community too that are like-minded, which is another big bonus too. So when we're done, Eva, our host, will be there to facilitate future conversations and bring us back or whatever. But it's going to be a great time. We would love to see you there on the 11th. We're looking to see you there as well, Farmer John. We really appreciate you coming on the show, sharing just a snippet of this man's insight. He knows a lot. Join us on my Telegram. That's free on Follow the Leader on Telegram. If you don't know how to get there, just drop me a message, or I'll put it in the description of this video. It's on all my videos on YouTube and in the description as well. But we all share. It's all community. We're all trying to help people to understand and be prepared and not scared as things come down the pike. We don't know when they're going to happen, but we sure know that things are going to happen because, when we look back 12 months from now at 2023, there's going to be a ton of change, and we just have to get ready for it as best we can. So, and Farmer John's a big part of that. So we really appreciate you, Farmer John, for hopping on the show, and thank you so much.
Yep, and don't miss that meeting. In-person events are so important. I mean, that's where I met you guys, and I'm telling you what, I can't figure out anything through the internet. I mean, you guys look like you're good guys, and you type something that sounds good, but tell you, when you meet somebody in person and you can shake their hands and look them in the eye, then you can tell who's real out there. And you guys are real because I met you, and I hate to say I sized you up, but I did. I mean, there's so much crap out there. You've got to figure out what's real. So these in-person events are incredible. So I really encourage people to go to that. So
thank you for saying all that. Very kind words. And we encourage everybody to go to these live events because, again, you realize that you're not alone. There are lots of people out there with your same mindset that will add to your conversation and help you, guide you on the path that you're already on and lead you to the future. So, yeah, we really recommend it. But again, thanks, Farmer John, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you in Wisconsin in 2 weeks. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, John. All right. So that was fun.
I feel like I asked all the questions, but the good news is I really like Farmer John, as you guys could tell. He's a good friend and I respect him. So it was quite a privilege to have him on. I never really thought that we would meet and then this would be where we'd end up. But, the reality that our food problem is we've got a problem, guys, globally. And having a resource like him in our community was just invaluable, super invaluable.
Yeah, we have a lot of problems for sure. But the silver, gold, crypto, that's helping us in one regard. Lead and 2A help us in another regard. There's lots of things that are out there that you need. I always harken back to the 1850s, living in Little House on the Prairie. What did they have to deal with? It was much harder back then, yes, but they got it done and they survived and they thrived. A lot of people did. So, but they were farmers. They were much more self-sufficient. We've gotten kind of lazy in the last couple of generations, and some of that could be going away. So we need to be prepared just in case. But part of that preparation is crypto. So I'm going to bring up now, Patrick, to one of your favorite topics, which happens to be the hash rate. So that's
let's talk about the hash rate. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but again, I just want to touch on it every time. The hash rate is now above 300 exahashes, right, guys? This is pretty crazy. Go down a little bit, Jeff.
Right.
And If it's freezing on you, well, probably because Bitcoin is just like going off the charts again. So the hash rate is just, it's continuing to grow. There's really not a whole lot more to say. The Bitcoin network is more secure, that it's more decentralized, and we expect this to happen, especially as prices increase. Miners are coming back online because it makes them more profitable. So this is just this dynamic here that we're seeing, and the difficulty rate didn't really climb up too much. So it was not really a big deal for us, understanding that the hash rate was just like, it's going to keep going up. And especially as the new miners come out, we're going to keep seeing the same stuff. It's just the same story. There are more wallets than ever. Even Litecoin has what, like just so many wallets. Cardano hit what, like top all-time record, like 4 million wallets. There's just so much activity in the space, and the projects that are growing are continuing to see just really just dramatically good higher highs and lower lows. Right now we're an ascending wedge up, and it looks really good. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to see $15,000 Bitcoin before we hit our next leg up, and I say we're out of the bull run. I mean, I still think right now we're in bear market personally.
Yeah, most people don't know that Bitcoin's pretty much jumped up 30% in the last few weeks. And that's pretty significant in any market to be moving that quickly upwards that rapidly. But I mean, it's kind of like sneakily gone above 20,000, now lingering around 23,000. Not getting a lot of attention because there's so much else going on in the news that's dominating the stories, like the debt ceiling and some of the things we talked about earlier. So, but lots of things are happening in crypto. We got a few other stories to pop in around. Let's see. What else was the next one? We had, well, that's real estate. So let's go back to, I think you had another crypto story. While I find that, hang on, Patrick, if there's anything else you wanted to share about Bitcoin for the interim while I look at the next story here.
No, there's not a whole lot I want to share about Bitcoin necessarily, but the good story that I was going to share, I'm not sure where it is. It's probably under crypto news, which was you're able to talk about the new DeFi coin that's coming out. The new DeFi coin is running on the Cardano and Cody network. It's a partnership there. So it's called DJED is the token, DJED. And that's pretty cool because we know that we've been looking for an ability for banks to have this interoperability. And what we're seeing here is this looks like it's going to be part of the ISO 22022 compliant network. So this is really pretty cool, understanding that Cardano's network has been huge. And you were seeing Cody up on 20-30% runs. They were just at 9 cents. They're floating up against 13. So we're really happy seeing that the Vassal hard fork is actually doing what we expected it to do. So really strong news for Cardano, for the Cardano ecosystem. And shout out to Crypto Capital Dan from Capital Ventures, because he's one of the guys that really has his finger on the pulse there, and we can always trust his news. So really highly look up to that guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love Dan. I've listened to him for years. But speaking about this story, just in general though, about these stable coins, and I've heard of Cody. It's project been around for a while. Not many people know about it. It's a smaller project, but it doesn't surprise me that they pumped up a lot, announcing a partnership with a top 25 project. That makes total sense as well. But Patrick, what is your think about like all these stable coins and all these issues that some of them have had? But there's so many different flavors of stable coins, and they're all tied to the U.S. dollar. It seems almost always. But do you think that there's another vehicle or another way to talk? Because in my opinion, the whole point of a stable coin is to get out of the crypto market temporarily, but still remain in the cyber world so you can get back in at what you think is a better price. It's kind of like a place to park your profits to hopefully buy on a cheaper sale later on. But is the dollar pairing the right pairing? Is there something else that you could see would be a better form of stability or another market to pair with Bitcoin that would be outside of, like, say, a fiat system?
No.
You don't?
No.
You don't think
Bitcoin is Bitcoin? Everything else should be priced in sats. That's it.
But what I'm saying is, but like you have these coins, you have the USDC, USDT, Tether, we don't like, True USD. They're all pegged to $1. But what if something was pegged to, say, an ounce of silver or an ounce of gold? I mean, to me, if if Bitcoin is digital gold, the perfect analogy would be like if you want to move out of Bitcoin for a little while to take profits, why wouldn't you take it directly into gold, hold it there, then come back from gold?
I understand, but to me, I see it differently. The dollar is worth 4,300 sats. Everything should be priced in sats. So the question that you asked me was, should we be considering pricing things in cryptos and something other than US dollars? Yeah, the Bitcoin pair, sats. That's what we should be doing. I actually had a really great conversation with one of the guys who developed, actually the guy who developed priced in Bitcoin. And you guys have seen me bring that up once or twice, but that's something that I really love. Priced in Bitcoin is very clear. We measure things in sats. It tells you more. Why would we not measure things in sats? So to me, if you want to measure something in a dying currency, it's going to become irrelevant. So for sure, price it in gold, price it in silver, price it in Satoshis, but the dollar, why does that even care? We have a global economy. We care about the arbitrage opportunity between the price of Bitcoin and the yen and the dollar. We don't really care about the yen or the dollar. The US government doesn't care about the yen or the dollar. The Fed doesn't care about the dollar. No one cares about the dollar. The dollar is in transition.
So I found the website, and I forgot the 21 at the end, but now I have it. So here's the website, priced in Bitcoin 21. You can see everything is priced in Bitcoin. So you see all these different commodities, fiats, precious metals, all these different things. They come down to how much are they in sats. So it's a very interesting site. There's lots of good charts on here, lots of good things. It's a great reference. And if you find that Bitcoin is one of your stable versions of wealth holding, which what we agree with, then looking at things in terms of sats or like tiny pieces
for
of Bitcoin.
example, like go take a look right now at the silver. So if you go up and you filter it by commodities and precious metals, you just look at silver right there. Click on the silver and you'll see the chart there. I want you to go to the bottom and click on the fiat icon to show us the price of silver in dollars. Right there, up to the middle right there. Now, if you go back up to the chart, you're going to see the value of silver and the value of silver in dollars. What is happening there? Jeff, click on all time at the top. This is really easy to see that there's not a whole lot happening now, but look at over all of time. It is taking less Satoshis to buy an ounce of silver. It used to cost you 10 million Satoshis, 100 million Satoshis, right? Like we're talking a full Bitcoin, right? 100 million Satoshis is one Bitcoin to buy an ounce of silver. Over time, the chart shows you something. Do you really believe that silver is going down in value over time? No, we don't really see that happening. But what we see is there's always this separation, and it's an inverse relationship. As Bitcoin goes up in value, it takes less Satoshis to buy the things you value. So why would you store or value anything, even Cardano, in dollars? You'd value it against Satoshis because the name of the game is stacking sats or stacking silver. Use the methods you have. But no, Jeff, the long answer to my short no was no.
Well, let's go to the other story you brought up about crypto, which is about Bitcoin, and it's also about so we got Arizona looking to make Bitcoin legal tender. Yet another state looking to do this. I think we're probably up to around 10 of them already.
Hey, we don't want to miss out on this either. Come stabilize our grid for less money and give the community more money and jobs. And yeah, we're in on this. So this is not a surprise. Why would they say no? The people who are saying no are the people who are lining their pockets in the old system. Everyone knows that the new system is more efficient, it's transparent, it's immutable. It is exactly as Satoshi designed it to be, and it's working, again, flawlessly.
And I think it's important to highlight this section I just brought up here. Is like it's going to be apparently only on the ballot in November 2024. Now we all know about Arizona ballots, but that's a different story. But this would make virtual currency, specifically tokens that are not a representation of the US dollar or a foreign currency, tax exempt. So that's another benefit to this. There's all kinds of motivation to get away from the dollar everywhere. We see it from BRICS. We see it from pretty much everyone that's buying these, like the inability to go get the silver coins. Like the reason that an eagle is $40 right now, with the price of silver being $24 an ounce, is a $16 premium. That $16 premium really reflects the fact that there's a premium in the marketplace that people want the physical silver versus having third-party counter risk of like having their money in a bank, which they may not be able to get out of, say, Bank of America last week, or having it like on paper and have virtual silver and gold. They want tangible assets.
I can't wait to talk to Robert Kiyosaki about this week and be like, hey, do you know that your state is now saying they will not tax Bitcoin? That's pretty cool, right? I don't know what he's going to say to that, but I know he's happy about that. He loves Bitcoin now. So it'll be cool to see what he says about that.
Yeah. And speaking of that conference, let's bring up that we're going to be up in Vancouver this coming weekend, and we're going to be at the VRIC, which is I can never get this right.
The
So Patrick,
Vancouver Resource Investment Conference.
Thank you, sir. Which is January 29th and 30th. It's free to attend for the general audience. So if you're in the area and you want to go, by all means, step out here, say hi. There's going to be a lot of people that it originally started as a mining conference because there's a lot of mining for silver and gold in this general area. But now it's a broader audience. There's going to be a lot of influencers, like I guess you call us part of that. But Economic Ninja is going to be there. I think Chris Taylor from he should be there. I know that Jack from Nobody Special Finance will be there.
Jack will be there?
I think so. I think Jack's going to be there.
That would be big.
And then what was the other one that let's see. But there's going to be a lot of people there. A lot of gold and silver people are going to be there.
Robert Kiyosaki, he's going to be there. So he's definitely the influencer of influencers for the influencers and educators and professors.
And this is an opportunity for Patrick and myself to be up there and to talk to, not just to talk and meet these people or reinvigorate the relationships we already have with some people we've already met, like Economic Ninja. But we want to go out there and we want to talk about, how does crypto fit in their world? And how does real estate fit in their world? How do all these different things that we talk about on this program, and we tell people to be prepared and not scared outside the dollar system? Where does it all fit? What are their viewpoints on it? And have those dialogues, because for us, it's an opportunity to talk to people that don't necessarily think about real estate or crypto in their daily silver and gold lives, but we want to help facilitate that conference or facilitate that conversation at the conference to people that may not have that conversation regularly and be there for them as a resource going forward.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the things that I wanted to show you guys, I like to highlight, that's one of the things I'm going to be trying to do here is highlighting a different YouTuber every once in a while. And one of the guys I'm really looking forward to meet in person, I didn't get the opportunity to meet him yet, but it's Chris from Financial Prepper and hopefully his wife, Stacy. They shared something really cool, because you guys understand that for me, the idea of us doing this show is that we try to reach you guys, to reach our community, to grow our community so that we can all be prepared together. And one of the things I love about Chris and Stacy is they really put their money where their mouth is. Look, even behind you, behind the screen there, they've got chicken coops. They're working on making eggs. They're providing for their community. And I want you to listen to actually what his heart is here. It's like, why are we doing all this work? What is he encouraging us to do? Listen for yourself, Jeff.
So paying these bills. Well, that's the main thing. Take care of yourself first. If you're not able-bodied or you're morbidly obese with a bunch of comorbidities and you're barely just scratching around right now, you need to take care of yourself so you'll be able to take care of your elderly people. That's just the facts. I know that probably hurts some feelings, or maybe not, but it's so important. And really, you don't feel like doing anything if you're really out of shape and you're consuming things is going to make you have diabetes and all that stuff. That in my opinion would be the first thing. The second thing is, think about hedging your wealth in this environment. Listen to these facts. In this environment where over the past 2 years, the retail behemoth Walmart charged 31% more for chicken breast, 126 more for eggs, 18 eggs, and 150% more for a gallon of milk. At 70%, dairy, lamb, eggs had the highest increase between sweet onion, rose pricing. Walmart's vegetables jumped up 29%, meat and seafood 22%, tomato sauce 57%, olive oil 48%. All these items are going up as your wages aren't keeping up with inflation is the point I'm trying to make. So that's a lot to take in. That's a lot to. This really is kind of a doom and gloom episode.
No,
I'm sorry.
I don't think it is. I think take this.
Well, there's some light at the end of this video.
So take this as a positive.
His wife's like, no, it's not.
When your parents are too old and you're faced with these bills or you're faced with these decisions emotionally, physically, financially, and all that, go ahead and have that conversation now. Sit down with them. And yes,
Yeah. I think that I really like what Chris has to say, and Stacy. I think that adding Stacy for that foil, that dynamic.
Chris was like, guys, everything is going down. Everything is getting expensive. Like, sorry for the doom and gloom. It kind of just sucks. And his wife's like, no, it's not all doom and gloom. He's like, yeah, you're right. It's not all doom and gloom. There is something light at the end of the tunnel. He's like, his wife is such a great balance to him. He just like gives it to you. And if for you guys don't know Chris, he was actually like, what was it, financial fitness or something like that? Because he loves working out too, like totally a man's man. So if you guys haven't given him a follow, definitely give him a follow. But I just really loved what he was saying there. What do you think about like taking care of our community, taking care of our elderly, like being prepared for that?
Yeah, you got to be prepared and not scared. And that's what this is. We're all about education and sharing. So we love if you guys, some of you guys have shared some content already, share with us. Reach out to us on social media or on the Telegram or leave comments down below. We really appreciate the feedback. And also, if you think there's people that would put value in this show or learn something benefit from it, share it on Facebook, put it in a Facebook group, or put us out there on some other ways, because we do as much as we can to get it out there, get the message out. But it's up to you guys in the community to help your communities as well, to say, hey, you should check this out. Check out what these guys have to say. See what they're bringing to the table. They have like guys like Farmer John coming on. They're selling like directly wheat that's not, brominated. I think I got that word right. And it's actually healthy for you. And all these things that you can do to be prepared and get your silver, get your crypto, learn about real estate. We didn't talk much about real estate today, but that continues to be a problem. But the one story I wanted to wrap up with the show today with was going back to gold. And that was something we talked about earlier. And people were worried about gold and confiscation and what happened back in 1933 and what's happened over the life of the dollar and how we've gotten to this point. Originally, way back when, in 1913, they launched the dollar, and then it was pegged to gold, and you could redeem the dollar for gold. Well, in 1933, they made private ownership of gold illegal, and they confiscated it. And that what they did, but it was a lot easier to confiscate the gold because most people who own gold kept them in safe deposit boxes.
Wait, are you saying they took them out of like American safe deposit boxes?
Yes, I did. Yes, they did. They literally said it was illegal for them, and they would go to the bankers and say that. Now they didn't just steal it. Okay, they gave people I think it was worth about $14 an ounce at the time. They gave them $21. So like, hey, I made a profit. Well, as soon as they had all the gold back, they did a revaluation, kind of like what we were talking about earlier about revaluing gold again. But what they did was they revalued gold back then to $35 an ounce once it had been confiscated. So even though they paid people $21 for it and it looked like a profit, soon they looked at it like, hey, it should have been $35 because the government just decided that there should be $35 an ounce. And that was the answer from 1933 through 1971. And actually, I think it's still in the book, so technically it's $35 an ounce, but that they don't redeem, you can't redeem dollars for gold anymore since it went off the gold standard, and it went fully off the standard in 1971. And as far as the gold, we'll talk about how much gold we have and how much is hidden in the Grand Canyon on another episode. But there's and revaluations as well, and rumors of revaluations of currencies all across the planet. But I wanted to touch base about like the history of the dollar. Most fiat currencies last about 28 years. And fiat currency is just a government-backed currency, and there's nothing else behind it. So the dollar has died several times since introduction in 1913. It died in 1933 when they confiscated the gold. It changed in 1944 with Bretton Woods when it became the global financial standard. It was like everything was based on the dollar. Then in 1971, again, when they went off the gold standard, and then the global financial crisis in 2008, where they bailed out the banks, was another one. And we're looking at another one happening again. If you study history of currencies and how all fiat currencies die because there's nothing backing it. When another country comes in and invades another country, just think about the Vikings used to do as an example. They didn't take the paper money. They took the gold, they took the silver, they took the food, they took the valuables. The physical valuables is what they took. They could care less of what a piece of green paper. They took what stuff was valuable and took it home with them, because that's what Romans have done. That's what anyone who's conquered any other country throughout history, throughout our history books, there's tons of messages like that. They don't take the paper. They don't care about the paper. They take what's valuable in their eyes, and that's what they take back, which is precious metals. So what I'm saying is, like, there's the history of gold and stuff, but revaluations happen. Fiat currencies die. It does happen.
And now they're seizing Bitcoin.
Yeah, and they'll seize that too, and they'll even put up for auction now and then if you're careful and you know where to look. But
only if you can give it to them. So remember that, guys. They can't take what they cannot find.
That's right. That's right. So you can keep Bitcoin in your mind if you know your seed words. So if you know from experts like us how to do that, and we'll be in Wisconsin on the 11th as you're taking across the bottom there. You can learn from us directly, and we're going to be offering consulting services and probably be in Wisconsin again. But that's something that we do. We are trying to help our community. We look to see what opportunities are out there, what the community needs, and try to address them or put people together to make that thing happen. So that's why we highlight the things that we do in this show. We love to highlight more. We're going to have more guests in the future. We're going to be in Wisconsin in 2 weeks. But Patrick, why don't you help us wrap up for today?
Yeah, guys, for me, it's really simple. I want to just always end up with this one encouragement to everyone here. Guys, things are hard. It's fine. We get it. It's going to continue to get worse. We know that's going to happen. The reality is are you prepared? What is one thing that you can do today? One thing that you can change about your family's habits or what your family is accustomed to, or one thing that you've learned from today from Farmer John that you can go and make a change? Because that's what this is about, is hearing, understanding, learning, and then we got to go do something different. So it might seem like things are really hard, but understand that there's a community around you. There's always someone who thinks like you. I'm here in Oregon. Farmer John is like literally in overalls in Illinois, farming on that side of the country. And we're going to go meet up in Wisconsin. We are a global digital, what does Lisa say? We're magical internet friends, right? So for me, guys, just remember, like, we can still be here for each other. But if we don't make one change, if it doesn't affect us to do something different, then I think we're missing the mark here.
Yeah, and I want to help us to close out today. And everybody has a to-do list. We always have it. But one of the things that really liberated me was realizing that the list never gets done. Okay, it never gets done. You prioritize and saying, what's the top couple of things I can accomplish today? Maybe you take a couple other easier ones too. That's fine. But if you take one item on that list and say, yeah, this is going to help me be prepared for the future, and you accomplish one thing a day, in 3 months, you'll have 90 things done. So just think about that. And maybe you take a day off now and then, but you're still going to be way ahead of the game by doing one thing a day for a couple of months. Just try it for a month and see how much better you're off. And you'll be that much encouraged to do the next month, and it'll just continue to build upon that. So with that said, I want to thank Patrick. I want to thank Farmer John for being here. And I want to say, be prepared and not scared. And we'll see you next time. Take care.